This season has been wild, not just because of the Luka Mavs drama or the Jimmy Butler versus Heat culture, but because we've got three of the most dominant regular season teams in NBA history, all in the same season. OKC, Cleveland, and Boston didn't just rack up dubs. They posted elite performance index scores that put them in historic territory. In fact, all three rank among the top 16 regular season teams going back to 1989. So here's the question: what happens if one of them loses early? If you're new here, the Elite Performance Index, or EPI, is a stat I built by reverse engineering every NBA champion since 1989. It's made up of 5 key stats: wins, margin of victory, offensive rank, defensive rank, and net rating, each weighted by how strongly they correlate with winning a title. The average champion lands right around 100. The higher the number, the more dominant the team. If you want the full breakdown on how it works, check out my other video where I go deep into the formula. Before we go matchup by matchup, let's take a second to look at just how stacked this regular season really was. Well, at least at the top, these are the top 10 teams in the league, according to the Elite Performance Index, and we'll walk through where each one ranked in every key category. Number 1. Oklahoma City Thunder posted an EPI of 148.30. The Thunder didn't just put together a great season. They put together the second best regular season of all time, trailing only the 96 Bulls. 68 wins, a plus 12.87 margin of victory, third in offensive rating, and first in defense. Add in a plus 12.72 net rating, and they basically broke the EPI scale. Coming in at number 2, the Cleveland Cavaliers, EPI 119.95. Cleveland flew under the radar, but statistically, they were elite. 64 wins, number 1 in offensive rating, 8th in defense, and a plus 9.54 net rating, matching their margin of victory exactly. That gives them the 14th highest EPI score ever recorded. The number 3 Boston Celtics posted an EPI of 118.24. The defending champs didn't slow down. 61 wins, number 2 in offense, 5th in defense, and a plus 9.51 net rating. Their EPI ranks 16th all time, just behind the 2013 Heat. Boston has been elite in all phases once again. The number 4 Minnesota Timberwolves posted an EPI of 78.73. The Wolves took a step forward this year with a top 10 offense and defense, only 49 wins, but their number 8 offensive rating, number 6 defensive rating, and solid plus 5.19 net rating show. This team was balanced and dangerous. The Memphis Grizzlies posted an EPI of 75.04. Memphis finished with 48 wins, but had the 6th best offense and a top 10 defense. Their plus 4.72 net rating and strong two-way play gave them a quiet but respectable EPI. Number 6, Los Angeles Clippers posted an EPI of 74.60. The Clippers leaned on defense this year, finishing 3rd in defensive rating overall. Their offense was middle of the pack at number 14, but they won 50 games and posted a plus 4.77 net rating. It was enough to land them just outside the top 5. The Houston Rockets posted an EPI of 73.03. The Rockets surged with a 4th-ranked defense and 13th in offense. A plus 4.34 net rating and 52 wins put them ahead of expectations, and they finished the year with the 7th best EPI in the league. The New York Knicks posted an EPI of 69.90. The Knicks had a strong year behind a top 5 offense, but ranked just 13th in defense. They still won 51 games and finished with a plus 4.09 net rating. Good enough for a top 8 EPI finish. The Denver Nuggets posted an EPI of 63.69. Denver was solid but less dominant than years past. They had a top 4 offense but a big drop defensively, finishing 22nd in defensive rating. Their net rating was just plus 3.77, and it showed in their EPI slipping below 65. Number 10, Golden State Warriors posted an EPI of 60.67. The Warriors had the number 7 defense, but were just 15th in offensive rating, but their plus 3.28 net rating pushed them into the top 10. So what does this all mean? Well, of these top 10, only 3 had above average championship level EPI scores. Everyone else? Good, maybe dangerous, but the gap between them and the top three isn't just wide, it's historic. And that's exactly what we're about to break down next. Now let's start with Boston, who posted an EPI score of 118.24. The numbers say Boston isn't just good, they're historically elite. But what happens if they lose early? Well, let's just say the odds are not on that happening. Start with Minnesota, one of the better teams this year. Since they are in the West, this would be a potential finals matchup, and not an historically pretty one. The EPI gap between them and Boston? 39.5 points. Teams with that kind of edge win 62 out of 77 times. That's over 80%. The Grizz, the Clippers, Rockets, and Knicks all have gaps of 43 to 48 points. Historically, that puts Boston in the 53-11 range, a win rate above 82%. And it only gets more lopsided from there. A finals matchup with Denver or Golden State, gap of 54.55 and 57.77 respectively. This would be excellent for rating, but terrible for quality, as teams with that margin win 92.3% of the time, and it's usually not close. Milwaukee and Indiana both are in the mid-60s, and where higher EPI teams go 31-3. From Detroit down, the matchups are considered statistically near locks. The Lakers, Kings, Heat, Magic, Hawks, and Mavericks all have EPI gaps of 75 points or more against Boston. And historically, teams with a gap of 80 plus are undefeated, 31-0, no exceptions. So if Boston loses to anyone other than Cleveland or Oklahoma City, it wouldn't just be surprising, it would be one of, if not the biggest statistical upset in playoff history. The Cavs didn't grab headlines all year, but what they did was nothing short of remarkable. As I said earlier, their 119.95 EPI places them at 14th all-time, higher than the 2013 Heat and multiple other championship squads. And they earned it. 64 wins, the number one offense in the league, and a top 10 D to back it up. Starting at the top again with Minnesota, and just like Boston, if these two teams matched up, it would be in the finals, and also like Boston, this would most likely be a no contest, at least according to history. The Wolves come closest, but still trails Cleveland by over 41 points. Historically, teams in that range win around 53 out of 64 or 83% of the time. The Grizz, the Clippers, and Rockets all fall within that same territory with EPI gaps in the mid-40s. That group drops Cleveland into a high 80s win percentage based on historical outcomes. Moving on to the next tier, and things start to look even more lopsided. The Knicks, at nearly 50 points behind, puts Cleveland in a range where similar teams have gone 36-3 historically. Denver and Golden State even further back, around 56 and 59 points down, respectively. Once the gap crosses 60, the track record gets ridiculous. The Fighting Giannis's and the Pacers trail by that margin. In matchups like these, the higher rated teams win over 90% of the time, typically going 31-3. Beyond that, the numbers become bulletproof. The Pistons, LaLuca, Sacramento, Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, Dallas, they're all at a 70-plus point disadvantage, with most of them sitting in the 80 to 100 range. And in that zone, and as we know, no team has ever lost. Cleveland may not have the flash of OKC or the recent title like Boston, but by the numbers, they're in that same rare air. And any loss before the conference finals, let alone to one of these teams, would be nearly unprecedented. Now we've talked about how dominant Boston and Cleveland have been, but what OKC did this season is on another level entirely. Their EPI score of 148.3 finished only 3 points behind the 72-win Bulls. 68 wins, the highest margin of victory in NBA history. Top 3 in offense, number 1 defense, and a net rating over plus 12.7 all, while missing the 4th most games in the league due to injury, as well as still being the youngest team in the league. Their season was not just great, it's generational. So what happens when you put that kind of dominance against the rest of the playoff field? Again, we start with the 4th-ranked team in the league, Minnesota. They're still almost 70 points behind. It sounds redundant by now, but again, that's over 91%. The 4th best team in the league by EPI is still nearly 70 points behind OKC. Incredible. Same for the next 4 teams. Memphis, the Clippers, Houston, and New York are all between 73 and 78 points behind. That drops the win rate slightly due to the small sample size of only 20 games, but can't argue with 17-3. To put that in perspective, the largest upset ever recorded was the 2007 We Believe Warriors upset the 67 Mavs with a gap rating of 79.48. And that was a 1 versus 8 matchup, which leads us to the next tier. If any one of Denver, Golden State, Milwaukee, Indiana beats OKC in any round, then it would be a bigger upset than those '07 Mavs. These teams all sit between 84 and 95 points behind OKC. That puts them in the 80-plus EPI gap club. And the final group, we're looking at probably the biggest upset in modern sports history. Detroit, Sacramento, Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, and Dallas. They all face gaps between 101 and 132 points. Historically speaking, the odds of pulling off an upset here are non-existent. The Lakers are in that group too. However, their EPI post-Luka is around 61, which still puts them in never-ever-happened territory. One caveat is the Golden State Jimmy Butlers. They have a post-Jimmy EPI of around 114-ish, which would still have them as underdogs by a 34-point margin, which still heavily favors OKC. For the Thunder, anything short of the finals, and maybe even a championship, would be the most shocking outcome in the history of the model. The EPI doesn't just say they're good, it says they're on track for one of the greatest playoff runs ever, if they can finish the job. That wraps up the video into just how dominant OKC, Cleveland, and Boston have been, and why any loss before facing each other would be one of the biggest statistical outliers in modern NBA history. If you found this interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because I'll be dropping a full playoff breakdown and prediction video as soon as the play-in is wrapped up. I've also got an all-time player EPI ranking in the works, plus future breakdowns of how past NBA trades and drafts look through the lens of the model. And it's not just basketball. We're bringing EPI rankings to the NFL, college football, and more. From the greatest teams of all time to the ones everyone forgot. This is just the beginning. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, I love you guys, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.